Welcome back to the At the Helm podcast, where we steer through everything from sports to superheroes. I'm your host, Blake Helms. Today, we are steering back towards the grandest stage of them all when I discuss Night 2 of this year's WrestleMania, aka WrestleMania 42. But before I get into that, just a reminder to subscribe, like the video, share with your friends if they think they'll enjoy it, ring the bell for notifications, all that. Getting into it, Night 2 of WrestleMania. The show, once again, started off with John Cena coming out to welcome everybody to Night 2 of WrestleMania. And then they had the stage graphics change from the kind of Mad Max theme of Night 1 towards more of a technological, just kind of technologically futuristic thing for Night 2. And similar to Night 1, the first hour of Night 2 was on the main ESPN channel, while after that was purely on the ESPN app. And WWE decided to start off Night 2 with probably the most anticipated match for wrestling fans of the entire weekend, which was the Ruler, Oba Femi, versus Brock Lesnar. These two had been facing off. They'd had some really fun moments where Oba had been getting the better of Brock in the build-up, and people were really looking forward to it. But most of all, people felt that if Oba Femi did not win this match, it was just a huge waste, that he needs that to be built up as the next Brock Lesnar, like when Brock was when he debuted in 2002, just getting catapulted and destroying everybody, winning King of the Ring, being champion immediately, main eventing WrestleMania right away, being the guy right away. And that's what people were hoping for Oba Femi as he came up from NXT. And Oba was a guy who, during John Cena's retirement show, they had a few NXT people go up against main roster guys, particularly, veterans. And one of those matches was then NXT champion Oba Femi versus then and current WWE champion Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the number one guy. He's the face of the company, and they protected Oba Femi from losing to him by having the match end in a interference disqualification by Drew McIntyre. In what world does an NXT guy need protecting from the guy? Like, if there's a guy that you are okay losing to, it's the WWE champion, face of the company, when you are still in the developmental. Not to mention, Oba never truly lost the NXT title. After Oba's last successful title defense, Oba relinquished the championship, basically saying, I have conquered this realm. I have to go find new worlds to conquer. And Brock Lesnar being the conqueror is a proper first feud with him. And when Oba Femi enters, it is just him doing his big strut with the whole crowd chanting, Oba, Oba, hoo, Oba, hoo, Oba. I would say right this second, Oba Femi is arguably a bigger star in just the way the crowd reacts to his presence than even Roman Reigns, which means a lot. And Oba's not just, he's a monster. He's going to be a guy who just dominates his way through most of his career. But unlike a lot of people like that, Oba can talk on the mic. Like, he's well versed. He's perfect, really, if you really want to go that way. And then getting into the match, Oba, Brock, two Goliaths of human beings. They started off with just some quick head and elbow tie-ups, just locking up with neither of them really giving any ground. Then Brock just lifted Oba, ran him into the corner, hit him with some shoulders, but then Oba just roared and just shoved Brock onto the mat, reminiscent of, only time I can remember anyone overpowering Brock like that was Goldberg in 2016. So, and that's freaking Goldberg. And Brock tried to clothesline Oba. That failed. And then Oba just, he tried a couple times. He just ran, bumped the rope, tried to clothesline. Oba just stood there and took it. But then Oba delivered a clothesline of his own, sending Brock down, causing Brock to just go out of the ring to try to compose himself and get a little bit of a temper tantrum. But then when Oba tried to grab the top of his head from inside the ring, Brock just hung him down onto the rope, which allowed Brock to take control. He hit a few suplexes. He lifted Oba up for an F5, hit it like in Brock Lesnar fashion, Suplex City. He dominates, but then Oba Brock didn't try to pin him, but when he turns around, Oba, after being hit with an F5, a move that has decimated all in its path, Oba just stood up and chokeslammed the Beast. And then afterward, lifted him up for a fall from grace powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. Oba, in no other proper word, dominated Brock Lesnar. And yeah, people say, and people say, oh, it's scripted. Of course that happens. Brock Lesnar, in both real life and in WWE, is booked like an absolute freak of nature, because he is a freak of nature. You know what? I bashed on Pat McAfee a lot last episode, but when he was on commentary during the first few years of the 2020s, when Brock returned, he gave the most accurate definition of the Beast, the alpha male of our species. When people said 100 men versus a gorilla, give me the gorilla. I was like, what if I give you 100 Brock Lesnars? I'm like, that gorilla dead. Because Brock Lesnar he's a former NCAA heavyweight champion. He's a former UFC heavyweight champion. He's like a 10-time WWE world champion. He is arguably the greatest combat sports athlete of all time. And Oba Femi, a guy who's been on the main roster for not even 4 months, just beat him pretty easily, just elevating his stock even higher, so much so that when he came out, he started Raw the next night. He just came out, let the crowd just bask in his glory, just chanting Oba, yelling, "Who?" And he just said, "The ruler has arrived." And then after the match, in a shock to literally everybody, perhaps even Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar's manager and probably best friend of 20 years, Brock started taking off his gloves, and then, which maybe people like, oh. And then once he started untying his boots, everyone was like, no, not you too. Because taking off the boots and leaving them in the ring is the universal sign in wrestling for retirement. When John Cena retired, he left his sneakers and bands in the ring. When AJ Styles retired, he left a phenomenal one jacket and his gloves in the ring. Brock taking off his UFC fighting gloves and his boots, leaving them in the ring. And if that didn't solidify that this was going to be the end for Brock Lesnar, it was the fact that while he was doing it, he was openly vulnerable and emotional to the point where he started crying in the ring, where I'm like, I've never seen Brock Lesnar show emotion like this. Like he's usually stone. He's either a stone cold killer or just laughing his ass off while he's beating the shit out of somebody. But this is the real Brock. That's the real Brock Lesnar right there. That is him being emotional, crying in front of 50,000 plus people, hugging Paul Heyman, just waving to the crowd. Didn't get on the mic or anything, but thanking them. And people had speculated that Brock was nearing retirement, that he'd come back last year at SummerSlam to have one last year's run. But most people thought it wasn't going to end till SummerSlam, especially since SummerSlam is in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, and especially considering he wasn't against the guy who's been retiring everybody in Gunther. So, and when Gunther was helping out Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins, people speculated when Gunther said Paul owed him a favor that it was going to be he wants Brock Lesnar. But now it appears we will never see Brock Lesnar wrestle again in a WWE ring. He got a proper retirement. It wasn't just one of those things where he just had a match, left, stuff happened, and he was never going to come back, which I did think was going to happen, and I was content with his last match being SummerSlam against Cody Rhodes in 2023. But this was perfect. Oba was exactly the guy for him to put over as he went out, which is the tradition in wrestling to go out on your back. And thank you, Brock Lesnar, for everything you did in your career, for defining the majority of what I have been a fan of in WWE. When I started watching, Brock Lesnar was the champion. When I went to my first PLE event, the Royal Rumble in 2022, I saw Brock Lesnar walk in as WWE champion, lose that championship because of Roman Reigns, enter the Royal Rumble, and win the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, thank you to the former. I'm going to do my best Paul Heyman impression. Reigning, defending, undisputed WWE heavyweight champion of the world, Brock Lesnar. And by the way, I grade this match A- because it was great. It did exactly what it needed to be do, but it wasn't like 5-star classic, so A-. Next up, you got the second of the two matches that were on the ESPN channel to start night 2. You have the 6-man Intercontinental Championship ladder match. You've got the reigning Intercontinental Champion Penta defending against the Bulgarian Brute Rusev, the Irish Ace JD McDonough, the young OG Javon Evans, the man that Rey Mysterio deemed the future of Lucha Libre, Dragon Lee, and the greatest luchador of all time, Rey Mysterio himself. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, ladder match, pretty simple concept. There is a championship hanging above the ring. You get to use ladders as weapons. First one to climb a ladder and grab the championship is the winner and new or still Intercontinental Champion. The three luchadors, Lee, Penta, and Rey, started off early, teaming up and doing damage to JD a little bit. Rusev was the first one to bring ladders into the equation, use them as weapons, and attempt to climb it first. And then later with JD and Javon on two sides of a ladder, Rusev tipped it over, which sent Javon flying to the outside of the ring. But JD was able to put his foot on the rope, jump back, and take out Rusev. I couldn't see exactly what he did. I don't know if it was a moonsault or something, because the camera kind of showed Javon falling, but didn't really show what JD did. I haven't really seen an angle of what happened. Maybe it didn't go well perfectly. I don't know. But then, so JD set the ladder back up, started climbing, but then Javon had recovered quickly, did a springboard on the top rope, jumped and just took out JD with a clothesline. Well, JD's halfway up the ladder because, as Javon Evans' entrance music says, that boy bouncy. A little bit later, Dragon Lee kind of was in between a ladder. You know, he's just got, like, you got the one side here, the one side behind him. He's just in between. And Rey did a drop kick on the time, so Dragon Lee is stuck in between a ladder. And Rey hit him with dial one up, hit him with a 619. And Penta and Rey teamed up against Rusev for a little bit. They sent him out to the apron. Then Penta and Rey started going at it. And Penta just launched Rey over him out to Rusev, who's standing on the apron, hit him with where Rey just kind of lands onto his chest, kind of just like you would set him up for a powerbomb. But the momentum takes him down through a ladder that had been placed between the ring and the announce table, just sending them both through it. Rey would later hit a 619 onto Penta, but then Dragon Lee paid an homage to his former tag team partner, the retired AJ Styles, by hitting his also former mentor with a Styles Clash. Afterwards, Dragon Lee tried to climb the ladder, was met by JD McDonough, and then while they were both on the same side, halfway up, JD hit a Spanish fly, which you just grabbed him like this, and they just both flip over, which in an incredible move that from halfway up the ladder. And then while JD's trying to climb up, Penta met him up there. JD tried to suplex Penta from off the top of the ladder onto the way the ladder was set up. You got it pretty close to the center of the ring, but then you have another one that's made a bridge between the ladder and one of the set of the ring ropes. So JD was going to try to suplex Penta onto that ladder, but Penta stopped it, and then set up to hit a Mexican destroyer where Penta they kind of flip over and drives JD head first onto that ladder. And it looks brutal. But Penta does it so safely that his head never touches anything. But oh my gosh, does that move look brutal while happening. Later, Evans climbed up. He grabbed the championship, but Rusev pulled the ladder out from under him. So Javon's just hanging above the ring from the ladder. He drops down. Rusev throws him out of the ring. But then Rusev, who had a gimpy ankle or leg injury, which had he started slowly climbing the ladder with few hops. But Javon, able to recover quickly, climbed up to the top of the ring post and jumped halfway across the ring and met Rusev to hit him with a huge OG cutter, which a cutter is essentially the motion of an RKO. And oh my goodness, what a move. Penta able to get back into it, used the ladder as kind of a jumping point to hit a Mexican destroyer on Evans. Penta climbed up, grabbed the championship, remained Intercontinental Champion. This was a beautiful car crash of a match, which is just the best thing about ladder and TLC matches, especially with this many people, where there's just so many fun spots where it's hard to pick your favorite. The Mexican Destroyer on the ladder was probably mine, or that massive OG cutter to Rusev. But amazing car crash of a match, just tremendous, A grade. And I do think Penta retaining was the right move because the way this match came about, Penta, after defeating Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship about a month ago, a month before WrestleMania, he said he's willing to fight everybody in a ladder match, and then they got this 5 opponents. They're originally just going to be the 4 opponents, but then Rey Mysterio got involved later, which set up this tremendous ladder match to end the first hour of WrestleMania on ESPN. Then, back on the ESPN app, you got the United States champions, the underdog from the underground, Sami Zayn, versus Whoop That Trick Williams. Trick's entrance is amazing. If those of you that are unfamiliar, when his music hits, you just got the entire crowd just chanting, "Whoop that trick, whoop that trick." It's tremendous. I've been there in person when he came out for the Elimination Chamber match, and this year it was amazing to be a part of because he just has that. He's got that aura about him and the way he talks, his catchphrases. Trick Williams he reminds me of a young Rock, and that's not just because he's also a black man, but he has that charisma, he has that swagger about him, where he's gonna go far in this industry because he's just got that it factor. And then you have the United States champion Sami Zayn, and Sami he went into this match technically a face, a good guy, and Trick was technically the heel, the bad guy. But the crowd felt the exact opposite, partially because Trick's just awesome and everybody loves him, but people have started to have a distaste for Sami Zayn. They've even started calling him Sammy Hogan, I think is crazy to call him Sammy Hogan because Sammy's never been a world champion. But I think it's just his character. They're just kind of getting a little bit tired of the underdog character constantly. And on top of it, people felt he stole Carmelo Hayes' moment. Carmelo Hayes had been United States champion for 5 months, roughly. And he'd been doing the open challenges. He'd been doing an amazing job. And WrestleMania should have been his reward. But they had Sammy take the title off him a month before WrestleMania, which really rubbed people the wrong way. They wanted Ilya Mello versus Mello, or some combination with Ilya and Mello on WrestleMania with the United States Championship. Maybe Trick and Sammy are involved somehow. But also Trick and Sammy had been kind of doing their rivalry thing backstage and stuff for a little while. And the United States Championship wasn't really necessary for it. Regardless, focusing on the match itself, when Trick did his entrance, I mentioned the chants and stuff, but the end of his, he wears a jacket. He wears like a big white jacket a lot. The end trail on this freaking thing was 40 yards. Covered almost the entire entrance ramp with how long it is. It rivaled a freaking British royal wedding dress, for crying out loud. Getting into the match itself, early on, Sammy controlled a lot of this match because people felt going in that this was going to be the perfect double turn. They're going to turn Sammy heel and they're going to turn Trick face in it. And Sammy did control a lot of the match. At one point, he went to dive outside the ring. Trick quickly got back in, met him with a clothesline. Trick eventually countered a blue thunder bomb attempt into a jumping neck breaker, and then he went for his finisher, the trick shot, which is just a big running knee he does, but was met with a blue thunder bomb for a 2 count. And while I should have mentioned this probably a little bit earlier, but it's WrestleMania, it's celebrity season. I'm not too familiar with his music work, but rapper Lil Yachty has kind of been, last few weeks, he's been Trick Williams' hype man kind of thing. And he's actually stuck around, at least for the first week post WrestleMania. So he seems like he's going to be here to stay. He's not just a WrestleMania season celebrity. So that might be cool. And he actually has done a decent job as Trick's hype man. It's not the same as when Pat McAfee was just thrown into the main event of WrestleMania this year. But while after that blue thunder bomb, Lil Yachty was just checking on Trick, but then unprovoked, for no reason, really, you're allowed to have a manager or someone out on ringside. Sammy just attacked Lil Yachty from behind, threw him into the barricade, I think, or just ran up and hit him in the back, for no reason. And then he followed it up. Him and Trick were on the apron. He drove Trick into the ring post head first 3 times. And hit him with a brain buster suplex where you kind of land on the high of your back, high on your back, kind of towards the neck area, onto the hardest part of the ring in the corner on the apron. And then he even hit his finisher, a Luva kick, on him on the outside. And Sammy was content with taking a count-out victory, which is very heel-like. Heels tend to be willing to do that more so than good guys. Good guys want to get a legit victory. They want to pin their opponent. But Trick was able to get up at 9, get back into the ring. And similar to how he beat Carmelo in the rematch that they'd had, while the ref was checking on Trick, because it is the ref's job to make sure the competitors are healthy and stay injured. But Sammy started lining up for another Haluva kick. But then Lil Yachty had come to. He hung Sammy over the top rope, allowing Trick to hit a big kick for a 2 count. Sammy eventually hit an exploder suplex into the corner, set up for an Haluva kick to finish the job, but was met with the trick shot knee. 1, 2, 3. New United States champion, Trick Willie Williams. And this was a decent match. It served its purpose. It's kind of officially turned Sammy into a bad guy. And Trick, he hasn't really turned into a full-fledged good guy yet. He still he's still got that arrogance and just like, I'm the best, everyone else sucks, no one else can touch me kind of thing. That is very heelish, but people like him so much that, you know what? Why change it? So you can be the good guy while still not being a good guy. Kind of similar to Roman Reigns the last couple of years. Roman's character, aside from being more respectful towards his family, hasn't really changed, but since he came back after losing the title, he's been a face. Similar to Obafemi, Trick's also a guy who's only been around for about 4 months on the main roster, and him already being a champion, winning something like this at WrestleMania is a huge step for him in his career, and I really look forward to seeing what he does. And I also hope that Sammy is able to go full-fledged heel, and maybe this is the thing that can finally get him a world championship. The thing that's always been eluding him the last few years. But maybe there's just a thing where he should have gotten it during his time with the Sammy Uso storyline as the honorary Uso in the bloodline with Roman Reigns. Maybe he should have been the one to defeat Roman. But I'm not going to complain because when Cody did beat him, that was amazing. And Sammy just had to kind of bite the bullet a little bit. Still, it's really hard. What was the best storytelling in the history of WWE? The Sami Zayn storyline with the bloodline, or the WrestleMania 40 storyline with the bloodline with The Rock involved is hard. Then moving on, you got a street fight between Dirty Dominic Mysterio, the son of WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio, who we talked about earlier, and the Demon Finn Balor. I'm going to talk about the stipulation. Street fight. You can use any weapons. There's no disqualification. There's no countouts. Pinfall or submission in the ring. Only way to win. And then the Demon Finn Balor. Finn Balor is a guy he's a tremendous wrestler. He's great in the ring. He's a guy that I've been a huge fan of since he debuted on Raw in 2016. But he has this alter ego called the Demon, where he gets a lot of body paint on, and he just is a different persona within the Finn Balor character. Because Finn Balor himself, he's a great competitor and a great superstar, but he's a man, you know? The Demon isn't human. He's a demon. He's a demon. The Demon, he's more resilient. He's harder to put down, and he's like the thing Finn Balor goes to when he needs to. Granted, I personally kind of wanted the WrestleMania match to just be normal Finn Balor, because normal Finn Balor the last few years hasn't really gotten too many wins. He's been a bad guy. He's been on just the losing side of his feuds. Especially, I watched him lose a World Heavyweight Championship match against CM Punk at Elimination Chamber. It's a great match, but I kind of wanted Finn Balor to get a big win in this rivalry with Dominic, but without needing the Demon. And maybe a little backstory on this rivalry. Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio for the last 3.5 plus years had been a part of a group called the Judgment Day. And the two of them were the longest standing members after 2 years ago they kicked out Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. So those two were the long-standing members of the Judgment Day. And last year, actually, they were in a match against each other in a fatal four-way for the IC Championship that Dom won by pinning Finn Balor. But they kind of just swept it on the rug and kind of had it festering for a while until eventually, after his stuff with Punk, Finn he reverted back more to who he was before the Judgment Day and started acting more like a good guy, eventually resulting in the implosion of the Judgment Day and this match. Both guys had cool entrances. Dom came in on just a big throne, kind of very Mayan, which makes sense. He is the AAA Mega Campeon, which is just it's a company based in Mexico that WWE bought around WrestleMania last year that Dom is insanely over in. He's a big star. He is the king of the luchadores. And he came out army of Mysterios wearing masks, carrying flags. It was cool. And the Demon's entrance is always fun. I love the Demon's entrance when the lights come on and he does this move is amazing. And there's also like a million streamers that came down, which became a little annoying. It was really cool when they came down, but then they're all just kind of stuck on Finn, tangled around him. But it was still cool. And while the Demon was making his entrance, Dom was just cowering behind the announce table like the coward, like the weakling he is. This was also the first time in 3 years that Finn Balor even used the Demon persona. Like, it hadn't been used since WrestleMania 39. But also, the last couple times he used it, the Demon had lost, which the Demon shouldn't really lose. The Demon should hardly ever lose. So people thought once he brought the Demon out, he has to win this match. Like, even more so than he did before the Demon. The Demon Balor pummeled Dom early, hit a lot of attacks, just kind of controlled the early going of it. Eventually, weapons like chairs and kendo sticks were entered in, and Dom tried to suplex Balor onto a couple chairs. Balor reversed it and sent Dom into those chairs, lifting him up, sending him into those chest first. Balor followed up with a sling blade, tried to hit a missile drop kick, but then got met with a super kick. Got set in position. Dom hit a 619, hit a frog splash, but the Demon kicked out at 1. That is Dom Mysterio's finishing combination. He hits a 619 to honor his father. He hits a frog splash to honor his uncle, Eddie Guerrero. And that's how Dom Mysterio wins his matches. Not today. At least not this time. Finn Balor then later hit a missile drop kick to try to go for a coup de grace where he goes to the top rope, jumps, and just stomps onto his opponent's torso. But Dom moved. He grabbed a chair, ran it while running, hit Balor on the face with it for a 2 count. Eventually, a table got set up in the corner. We're just kind of leaning up against the corner of the ring. Dom tried to throw Balor into it. He stopped himself, hit a sling blade, set up for a missile drop kick, got hit with a super kick. Balor got thrown into the table. Dom later hit Finn in the back with a chair, put the chair on his head, hit him with a 619, hit him with a frog splash once again, but still only got a 2 count because, like I said, the Demon is more resilient. He's not human. It takes a lot to beat the Demon. After this, Dom got another table up. He set it up normally like you would normally set up a table. But then suddenly the Demon, which had just been laying on the mat, just suddenly rose, took Dom down, started berating him with chair shots, put the chair over Dom's head, missile drop kicked him into the corner, set him up on the table, hit a coup de grace. 1, 2, 3. The Demon was victorious. Solid match between 2 great competitors, which hopefully starts raising the momentum of Finn Balor as he can eventually maybe get back into championship title picture. He needs to win a world title eventually. I mean, this is a guy who, when he made his debut, the first night on Monday Night Raw, he won a Fatal 4-Way to get a number 1 contenders match for the new world title they were creating. And then the same night, he beat Roman Reigns clean. And then at SummerSlam, a month later, he beat Seth Rollins as the Demon to become the first ever Universal Champion. But in that match, he dislocated his shoulder, and he had to give up the championship the next night. And he's never been able to get world title gold again, despite several opportunities. I gave this great match a B+. Some fun spots, some good use of weaponry, and it's just nice to see Finn Balor get a win. Then you got the WWE Women's Championship match. You got the Storm, Jade Cargill, defending against Mommy Rhea Ripley. Jade controlled the early part of the match as the heel. Jade and the two powerhouses just did a bit of a slugfest. Jade was the stronger of the two. But Rhea is more agile, a little bit more precise with her strikes. Eventually, Rhea got Jade up on her shoulders and then just slammed her down into the mat for a 2 count. Each woman went for their respective finishers, but neither could hit one. Eventually, when Rhea started gaining momentum and setting Jade up for a razor's edge, Jade's cronies, Michin, distracted the ref while B-Fab helped Jade get down, allowing Jade to throw Rhea shoulder first into the ring post. But then while Jade distracted the ref, Michin kicked Rhea headfirst into said post also. Jade then lifted Rhea up, similar to how Rhea had done for her, and then hit a one-winged angel, beautiful one-winged angel on Rhea for a 2 count. Jade then threw Rhea outside the ring and tried to distract the ref to allow Michin and B-Fab to attack her. But the ref caught them before they did, and then the music of the genius of the Sky, Rhea's former tag team partner, Io Sky, came down to the ring to help out her best friend. She took out B-Fab and Michin with some uppercuts and then did a springboard moonsault onto the outside, which distracted Jade enough for Rhea to get a headbutt. Went for Riptide, denied. Jade hit a big pump kick onto Rhea, set her up for a finisher Jade, and then, oh my goodness, Rhea did this amazingly beautiful counter where when she got lifted up for Jaded, she got down, went between Jade's legs while still holding onto her arm to transition beautifully into Riptide, giving Rhea the 3 count, making her a 4-time Women's World Champion, cementing that Rhea Ripley is the biggest star in women's wrestling. This was probably Jade's best match since she debuted in the WWE 2 years ago. People's main complaint about Jade is her in-ring work, but this match was surprisingly really good. I probably enjoyed it more than Liv versus Stephanie, which is kind of the opposite of the builds to the matches. And this really just shows how amazing Rhea is in the ring and how great of a dance partner she is. Her matches with Io last year were amazing. Last year, her, Io, and Bianca put on arguably the match of the year, definitely the best match at WrestleMania. And this, she also was able to do a solid job here with Jade. I gave this a grade of a B. Then John Cena came out once again to announce the attendance, which was a little over 55,000. But then The Miz and his new mentee, Kit Wilson, came out to interrupt, trying to get their WrestleMania moment. And then the guys have been making their lives rough the last month or so. The WWE Universe's new favorite superstar, Danhausen, who I actually saw debut. The debut wasn't great. People didn't like it because they built it up for this mystery in a crate, thinking it could be like Chris Jericho. But then there's Danhausen. But since then, Danhausen is just hilarious. He came out with a group of little people that were dressed as him. He's with the same face paint on and everything. And one of them punched Kit Wilson in the balls while the rest of them just attacked him. Danhausen then followed up by punching The Miz in the balls. And then with John Cena there, he did You Can't See Me, and then You Are Cursed. And they did a 1 knuckle shuffle on The Miz. And then the Mini-Hausens carried The Miz off, which is just hilarious. And John Cena, and then Danhausen did a smoke bomb, but he was still there. Then he ran outside under the ring. And then John Cena just couldn't help but just laugh because Danhausen, like, this was just supposed to be fun. Like, it was just a funny thing between The Miz, Kit Wilson, Cena, and Danhausen. Because everything Danhausen has done since he came on has been comedy gold. The couple times he's been on screen with Truth has been hilarious. And I can't wait to see what more they do with him. And that brings us to the main event of not just Night 2, but of the whole WrestleMania 42 weekend. The World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk, the best in the world, defending against the OTC, the 2026 Men's Royal Rumble winner, Roman Reigns. Acknowledge him. Roman had a cool entrance. He had a piano, he had drums, he had vocals getting ready for his theme song, while you had images of his family members, patriarchs. It seemed to be all ones who had passed away. Yokozuna, Umaga, The Rock's grandfather, Peter Maivia, Afa, and Roman's father, Sika. And then Roman had a different theme from when he was the 16-day champion, called I Am Greatest, which is a little different. It has a little more aura feel to it with the drums and the way it is, while his other theme had been more vocal focused, and vocal and choir focused. But Roman Reigns had never lost a singles match with that entrance, and that entrance returned at WrestleMania 42 to face CM Punk, a man he hates with all of his being. And he also came out, and when he came out, he also had a black glove on that had gold trimmings on it. And when Roman Reigns came out with the head of the table theme and a gold glove on, it was a guaranteed W. So that second that music hit, I'm like, he is winning. I acknowledge that Roman Reigns is winning this match. But that was still to be determined. Punk also had a cool entrance. He had a video package that showed the city of Vegas, including himself sitting on top of Allegiant Stadium with the World Heavyweight Championship. And then it showed pictures of his throughout his career, and then a couple of videos of the last couple of months he's had as World Heavyweight Champion, all while his theme from Ring of Honor was playing. And then he walked out with silence, got down, declared, "It's clobbering time." And then Cult of Personality hit. After their introductions and the match officially started, the two just stared at each other for a little bit, did some trash talking, and then started going at each other, including CM Punk just slapping Roman, and Roman later following it up with a Samoan drop. And the main catalyst of this feud came about a month ago when they were doing their second promo against each other. And the way Punk ended it was saying that he was going to bury Roman at WrestleMania, but he was also going to bury him next to his father. So after Roman hit this Samoan drop, he just said, "That's my daddy's move, son." Because Roman and family are, that's what's important to him. Roman is a part of the Samoan dynasty, the Anoa'i family dynasty that has so many superstars in it in the WWE history books. I mentioned some earlier: Yokozuna, the Wild Samoans, Afa and Sika, Peter Maivia, Umaga, The Rock, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns. All a part of the same family. Oh, Rikishi. I forgot Rikishi. How could I forget Rikishi? All a part of the same legendary family of wrestling that just runs everything. And that dynasty is going to continue for a long time because these guys keep pumping out kids. At least a couple of them are going to be wrestlers. The two fought outside for a little bit, even Punk getting on top of the announce table and doing his X-pose signature. Eventually, back in the ring, Roman elbowed out of a GTS attempt and followed it up with a Superman punch. Eventually, Punk had tried to go on up top for a move. Roman was able to punch him and then just kind of make it so that he's hanging upside down from the top rope. And he just treated Punk as a punking bag. I trademark it. That's mine. No one else can use it. Punking bag. And then he even grabbed the steel steps and just random right into Punk's face, just started making him bleed from the forehead, which it technically should have been a disqualification. But who cares? It's the main event of WrestleMania. No one's gonna end it on that kind of disqualification. Roman then just powerbombed Punk through the announce table and then just dragged him back into the ring. But then Roman back in the ring, went for a spear, got countered, into a GTS for a 2 count. Punk then went for a second GTS attempt, got countered. Roman hit a spear for a 2 count. After Punk kicked out, Roman starts going, "Go to sleep, Punk. Go to sleep. You're an old man. Gotta go to sleep." Roman then set up Punk for a GTS, got countered into a kick. CM Punk hit a Superman punch of his own. He went outside, grabbed an Ulafala from a fan. The Ulafala represents the tribal chief in Samoan society. Roman carries it with the greatest honor. And he did Roman's roar, went for a spear, but got caught with a guillotine. Punk eventually got out of it, tried to roll Roman up, but got a 2 count. Eventually, after a while doing some missions and stuff, both of them were down, just kind of getting up, seeing the pure hatred in each other's eyes. They start exchanging punches. Eventually, while they're both standing, Punk starts unwrapping some of the arm tape he has, just throws it against Roman's chest while the ref goes to get out of the ring. Punk kicks Roman below the belt, hits him with a GTS for a near 3 count, but 2.99. Roman kicks out in one of the greatest false finishes since the Undertaker versus Triple H Hell in a Cell match, when Undertaker kicked out of a Sweet Chin Music followed by a pedigree. Punk then set Roman up on the announce table outside that was still standing. It made sure that wasn't the case by going to the top rope and dropping an elbow through the tribal chief. Back in the ring, Punk hits another GTS. He slumps down on the ring. Roman bounces off the ropes and falls right back down onto Punk's shoulders. Punk goes up to hit another GTS, but he just collapses under the weight, which this was finally the payoff to what people considered kind of the worst part of the buildup. Roman's response after Punk said he was going to bury him next to his father. The next week, the way Roman ended the promo was by saying Punk can't carry the burden anymore because he's old now, I'm like, okay, Roman, you say you're going to bury Roman next to his father. He doesn't hit you. Roman calls you old and you hit him. And then, during their fights and during the match, there are references to Punk being old. Punk saying, "Who's old now, bitch?" That kind of thing. But this was the payoff, because it's not because Roman was the better man in this match. You can argue Punk outclassed him for the majority of the match, but Roman had more gas in the tank for it. Punk couldn't carry the burden. He couldn't carry the WWE. He collapsed under the weight, allowing Roman to hit a spear, and then he didn't go for the pin, but Punk eventually he started getting up. He just wildly threw a shot at Roman. Roman did his little slingshot spear where he bounces off the ropes, hits Punk for the 3 count. Roman Reigns is the new World Heavyweight Champion, winning his 7th main event of WrestleMania to become a 7-time world champion. This was an incredible match. This was peak. This was amazing. 5 stars. This is a generational match that will be talked about for years. This will be talked about up there with the greatest matches of all time. That's why I would normally top my grading scale up at an A. This gets an A+. This was amazing. It was a tremendous match. There's really nothing that could have been better about it, really. Like, it was so good. And I think Roman winning was the right move, because it seems Roman's going to be full-time through at least SummerSlam, where maybe he drops it to an Obafemi or something like that. Punk, I'm not sure where this leaves him afterwards. He'll probably be in the King of the Ring tournament. I don't think he'll win it. They teased him versus Cody eventually, the Raw after WrestleMania. But other than that, I'm not really sure like what his rivalry is, other than maybe another match with Roman eventually. But yeah, I'm not sure where Punk goes outside of the world title picture. And that remains to be seen. Awards for night 2. Match of the night, I just said it. Roman versus Punk. No, it's can't really get any better than that. That's the best match of the night. Moment of the night, I'm going with Javon Evans hitting that massive OG cutter on Rusev. while Rusev was halfway up a ladder. That was just an amazing move. That was just tremendous. That was so good that's something that can be seen in highlight reels for a while. That remains to be seen, but we'll see. Entrance of the night, I went with Roman's entrance. I thought that it was really cool. Honorable mentions to Punk and Rey Mysterio, who also had neat entrances. And there were a few others like Dom's also. That was also really good. But Roman, it was great. I think I was favoring it also when it was showing the pictures of the family members. But once head of the table hit, I'm like, this is it. That's it. That is the entrance of the night. Funniest moment of the night, just the entire Danhausen segment. Danhausen's just a master of comedy. And if you didn't laugh at the Danhausen segment, you are cursed. Surprise of the night, Brock Lesnar's retirement. Like I said earlier, no one saw that coming. Thank you, Brock Lesnar. And yeah, I was at a loss for words when that happened. I'm going to give just my final thoughts on WrestleMania as a whole. It was a great show. Night 2 was spectacular, better than night 1, and a lot of the matches didn't feel quite as rushed as they did before. The middle matches still were pretty rushed comparatively than what they could have been. So, TKO, stop putting advertisement over matches. Seriously, just get a load. Seriously, just fuck off sometimes with that product placement. Jesus Christ. And then people who kind of got shafted not being on WrestleMania this year. I mentioned a couple earlier. Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov carried the United States Championship division they carried the United States Championship with open challenges, with amazing matches for the last 6 months, and you know what? 8 months. It was more like 8 months. Those two just kind of did amazing work that really they should have earned them WrestleMania matches. A match that really should have been on WrestleMania, Io Sky versus Asuka, especially with the hindsight now of a couple weeks post WrestleMania. Kairi Sane was just released. Kairi Sane was a major part of the Io Sky and Asuka's storyline. And heck, Io and Asuka are having a match at Backlash in a couple weeks. So, they really missed out on not having that match on WrestleMania. I think it should have been added night 2. Night 1 had 7. Night 2 had 6. And night 2 only had 1 women's match. You could have definitely thrown Io versus Asuka in there. And another match, but for the women that also could have been in there. The Women's United States Championship has never been defended on a pay-per-view, PLE, whatever. And Julia and Tiffany, the SmackDown after Mania, had a really solid match where Tiffany ended up winning the U.S. Championship. And hopefully a big star like Tiffany gives that championship more relevance than it has the first year plus it's been around. Aside from when Chelsea Green has it, it doesn't really have anything no one really cares about it. Chelsea Green's just so funny and hilarious that people look forward to her. But that match really was solid. It's two great in-ring competitors. It definitely could have been on. Raquel Rodriguez is another one that could have gotten a WrestleMania match. She had a really good first couple months of the year, feuding with Stephanie Vaquer over the Women's World Championship. And also, when her and Vaquer had their street fight for the title, I think after Liv had won the Rumble match and Liv and Raquel being a part of the Judgment Day, the storyline could have been amazing for Raquel and Liv to have their WrestleMania match. You know, have that betrayal. Maybe turn Raquel face in the process, making Liv just that dastardly heel that cheats to screw over her former tag team partner and best friend, Raquel. That could have been amazing. All right. But yeah, overall, I loved WrestleMania. Night 1 could have been a little bit better, but night 2 was amazing. That was a really good WrestleMania. Main event was a marquee match. That was amazing. And yeah, I love wrestling, man. Wrestling's so cool. Thank you for watching this episode of the Adnan Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment for your thoughts on WrestleMania. Thank you for watching it this far. If you have an amazing day.